Howdy YouTube. Welcome to our first ever official Reading with Rick. Today we're going to be doing a personal favorite of mine. It is Gurney Norman's novel, Divine Rights Trip. This novel is in a way a 20th century kind of odyssey if you ask me. It's based around the 60s and 70s, kind of that counterculture movement in America you've seen. You can see his Volkswagen bus on the cover here. So Divine Right, also known as David Ray Davenport, is a young man who has been living out west, and along this book we're going to see his journey back towards Kentucky, back towards home. He's going to begin to question kind of who he has become as a man, and also just, what his family has meant to him, and what some of his heritage coming from that Appalachian, that mountain region, means to him. Again, when I do these kind of videos, I'm not going to give too much context. I'm just going to pick out an excerpt in the book that I like, read it, maybe give some feedback on it, give some comments on it. Gurney doesn't need my feedback, but give some comments on it, just stuff that I see in there that I like, that I'm going to try to use in my own writing or use to inspire something of my own. And again, hopefully someone will hear it, enjoy what they hear, and go pick it up to experience it on their own. That's the hope here on this channel, is to get people back into books, back into writing. Like I said, even if it's journaling, work on whatever you want to work on. I'm going to try to upload a writing workshop sometime soon. I say workshop, but I guess like a writing prompt, and I might do a little bit of writing here on camera with you, and then I don't know, I might share some things, I might keep some things private, but I'm just going to give y'all a prompt to do with me, and just try to build a community here so we can encourage each other, and make some awesome stuff. So without any more talking, me running my mouth, I'll jump right into it. The part I'm about to read, Divine Right has been driving for a while, and just to be frank, he has dropped some acid and he is kind of freaking out as he goes down the road. His girlfriend Estelle has just asked to drive, and kind of put him in the back for a while. DR tried to say no, but his tongue ignored his mind and babbled stupidly on its own like a baby's. He was crying like a baby now. Crying was the only words he had, and DR had oh so much to say. He wanted to say the kitchen, and his grandfather building fires. He wanted to say the river he had been baptized in, and swimming in that river with other people who had not lived. He was on a riverbank now, casting far out in the stream. The sun was shining on him. He was naked in it, but a shadow lay upon the water from a bank of tall sycamores on the other side. DR reeled in and stuck another dragonfly on his hook, and cast again, upstream this time, near an old snag of a tree where the water seemed to spin in a little as it flowed. The hook sailed through the sunlight and plopped into the water a few feet from the snag. Instantly a giant catfish took hold and pulled so hard DR fell on the muddy riverbank and slid into the water, where an unseen current sucked him far into the river and dragged him down below. Air, he tried to call. Breath, give me breath. But his lungs were full of water now, and he could make no sound. Deeper and deeper he sank in the dark and murky river. Nothing he could do would help him rise again. Nothing he could think would give him air. The chill of death entered at his fingertips and toes and slowly flowed up through his body to his throat to gather in a pool. DR was drowning in the pool that filled his throat and choked him. He felt his life go out and turned into a fish with gills and scales and fins and tail, tempted by a powerful light that dangled from his brain. The light scared him, but he nosed around it, lured and terrified. Against his will, he nibbled at its edges. As soon as his lips touched the light, a three-pronged hook snagged his throat and yanked him up. Blood filled his throat and ran out of his gills and eyes and asshole and spilled upon the sand. He struggled to ease the pressure of the hook against his flesh, but the fisherman only laughed and dangled him up and down. At last, when he could stand no more, the fisherman gave the line a jerk and ripped DR's tongue out by the roots and dropped him bleeding to the sand. Words rose up inside him to protest, but they could get no farther than his throat. Words that started deep inside him lifted through his system to collide and fall apart in heaps of jumbled ABCs. Words he'd said in childhood came charging into words he'd heard old preachers say in sermons long ago. Words of preachers, words of teachers, words mysterious kinfolks uttered over Sunday chicken dinners, into words he'd muttered to himself in saying who he was and might become, all crashed against the roadblock and piled up in a grave of words as dry and hard as bones. DR picked up a bone shaped like the letter W. He smelled it, licked his tongue across it, and held it to his ear. He tried an O and R and a broken D, but they were all the same. Dead, dead. All the words were dead. Not one had lived to tell what happened. None survived that knew the tale. Tell it, said the fisherman, but all he could do was cry. "Tell it," said the fisherman, but all he could do was cry. The fisherman cursed and roughly kicked DR back into the river. The water scalded his wound as it mixed with blood and made a soup for bones of broken letters. DR clutched at for support to keep from drowning. So again, we kind of see him in this moment of he's kind of freaking out. He's lost his ability to speak, to form these words that he's known his entire life. My favorite part in this section is the fisherman telling him to tell it, but all he could do was cry. "Tell it," said the fisherman, but all he could do was cry. There's just so much packed in here. I also thought, like I said, the purpose of this channel is that I feel like we've really, nobody appreciates the written word like we used to. We read short little articles on news websites. We read, Twitter posts that are barely anything. And you can't get as deep as you need to get in some of that. And so to hear him say, "But they were all the same, dead, dead. All the words were dead. Not one had lived to tell what had happened. None survived that knew the tell." Who's going to tell your story if you don't write, or if you don't find some way of expressing it? We're lucky enough to live in an age where, there's things like this. I'm making a video right now, or there's audio podcasts that became huge. But something that anybody can do, no matter who you are, is sit down, pick up a pen, pick up a piece of paper, and just write. Maybe you don't like to write fiction or poetry or some, highfalutin essay or whatever, but you can write what you've done. You can write what's on your mind. You can write a letter to a friend. It's that simple. And I bet you feel better after it. It's therapeutic. I will tell you that. Anyways, to get off of my soapbox, I also really like the pace of this section by Gurney. Again, we see him kind of struggling to express what's on his mind, but at the same time, we're plopped down into that crazy moment with him in his own consciousness, and just move through it. So everything moves so seamlessly into the next. He goes from being in the van to fishing himself, to being the fish, to getting snagged up, and then kicked right back into the water when he can't do what he needs to do, when he can't answer the fisherman's command. So a really cool section. Love this piece by Gurney. Again, highly recommend this book. Gurney has some short fiction as well. The Wilga Stories, Kinfolk, the Wilga Stories is his first published collection of short stories, I believe. And then most recently, within the last few years, he's published another collection of short stories called Allegiance. You can find that at Old Cove Press, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe on Amazon too. I'm not sure where else you can find it, but I know for sure Old Cove Press has it, if they've not sold out. And just awesome writer, Kentucky writer. I believe Gurney went to Stanford for a writing program in his youth. And so, again, if you guys have any recommendations or any thoughts on what I just read, or if you've actually read Divine Right Strip and want to comment, please leave a note, like, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'm hoping to get some more of these going. I'm going to read some different things. Like I said, I might dive into some poetry and some nonfiction as well. We'll just see where it takes us. And stay tuned. Bear with me. I'm learning, but it's been fun. Thank you, YouTube. Hope y'all have a wonderful, blessed day. Love you. Peace out.